what made you a fan of wrestling? What's your earliest memory of it?
Yeah, so I had been watching wrestling probably like since I was growing up. Like, don't really remember 5, 6 sort of years old. My first real vivid memory is, and because I tell the story heaps, is when I was 7. Just before I was 8, my sister was born. I was at home and I was watching Raw with my granddad while my mum and my sister and my mum my sister was being born at the hospital. We were watching Raw and my nana rang up and said, hey, like, your sister's born, you guys going to come to the hospital? And I remember telling her that, it's like, no way, you need to watch the main event of Raw. Like, what are you up to, trying to interrupt me with this birth? Yeah, so that was the earliest memory. I remember wanting to see Austin in the main event of Raw, so I stuck home to watch that. And then, just through my childhood, watching Raw on a Friday night, and Nitro on a Saturday morning, and recording the pay-per-views that were on at 2 a.m. because it was hard for a young kid to wake up to watch it. And kind of just stuck with it since then.
Now, you're mentioning Austin, watching him in the main event of Raw. Was he your favourite growing up, or did you go back and forth between Raw and Nitro?
Yeah, so I had heaps of different favourites growing up. I remember loving DDP for a good chunk of time. I really liked I like 3 Count because I like NSYNC and like Backstreet Boys and stuff. So some guys, being a boy band per se was cool. Like, I enjoyed that. Like, fell in love with the cruiserweights just because I like that sort of stuff. And like once I found out that Nitro was a thing, at WCW was a thing, I stopped watching Raw religiously, just because I don't know, I guess the little kid inside of me, the little kid I was, enjoyed the stuff that WCW was doing. And you look back on it now as an adult and you're like, oh well, wrestling wise and stuff, you probably should have been watching Raw, but entertainment wise, WCW was cool, especially for a kid,
So growing up, you obviously, really enjoyed it. Did you ever think you'd ever become a wrestler yourself? Like, what made you become a wrestler? Like, how did you get into it?
Yeah, so like, I don't know, I think in New Zealand, if you don't play rugby or nowadays you play basketball or something like that, it's kind of, you don't really have a sporting team in New Zealand, and yes, mixed martial arts now as well, and stuff like that. But I remember going to the Wainyamata Mall one time, and there was some wrestlers there. Dan the Man Sterling was there, Max Damage was there. From WPW back in the day, and they were doing like a little bit of a demo for a show that was coming up on Lower Hutt, and that was the first that I heard of wrestling being in New Zealand, and I was like, what? This is like the stuff I seen on TV. And I remember running home and asking my grandmother for $10 to buy a ticket, like a pre-sale ticket, and got a ticket, and the week after I went to the show and saw it live, and I was just like, God, this is insane, and didn't really do much from that first show, kind of just saw it and was like, cool, that's it. And then I remember getting a Bebo account and stuff like that, and seeing some wrestlers on that and being like, oh cool, that's still happening, whatever. And then one of my friends at high school was debuting, and who was CD, and went and watched him debut, and from there kind of just started training. And I never really thought that I would make anything of it, or that it would last long. Like parents, my mum always kind of said growing up, oh, you grow out of it, it's just a fad or whatever. And 100%, there was definitely some points where I was like, done with wrestling, this is boring now, I'm going to go just focus on playing rugby more, and did that for a bit, but always kind of just fell back in love with wrestling. So just continued to train and continued to try and make something, but never thought that I would make it I wouldn't go overseas or anything. And now I've had 3 trips to Australia and soon to go to Mexico, and so so it's a pretty choice.
When did you first start training, and how long have you been wrestling for?
Yeah, so this is a little bit embarrassing when you ask it now, and I think some people take pride in the amount of time they've trained, and this is going to sound a little bit bad, but some people go on about how they've trained 10, 13, 8 years, and then you watch them wrestle, and you're kind of ooh, I've seen guys train for a year, 2 years, 3 years, equal or better than you. Maybe you shouldn't be going around saying that. In ring, I'm not. In ring wise, I'm not super, super good. There's so many guys that are heaps better than me. I feel like I've got a real good mind for what's going on. Yeah, so I started training 10 years ago. Probably this time next week will be 10 years since I debuted. So mid-December 2003, or 2006, sorry, I debuted. I started training April, May 2006. So it's been 10 years, but if I add up every bit of training I've done, everything, probably 1 or 2 years properly that I really cared and really tried. Yeah.
Okay. What was it? Do you remember going into your first match and what was going through your mind?
Yeah.
The nerves?
So a little bit of backstory. Back in the day, there was NJPW in Wellington, and that was kind of the fed that was happening down there. And then some politics and some conspiracy theory, I don't know, some stuff happened, and some guys split off and formed Kiwi Pro Wrestling, KPW, and some guys stayed with WPW. I came in just after that split. Mm-hmm. So I had been watching shows, and I'd been watching these KPW guys with these WPW guys on a WPW show. I've been watching that, and I come in just after they split, and I'm like, where's Max Damage? Where's Inferno? Where's H-Flame? Where's these guys? Where's Juice? Found out they all went to the other place, and I was like, whatever, like, Martin's giving me a chance. I'm here, I'm the train, I'm young, it's cool. And I remember contacting Max Damage the day before my debut and being like, hey man, like, what do I do before a match? Like, what's happening? And for some reason, I remember him telling me to drink milk and have a Kit Kat. So I remember that day, it was on a Friday night, my debut. It was against Harry Peters at Intel Sports. And I remember taking the day off school for it. I remember buying milk and a Kit Kat from the Ava Street Dairy. I remember using Breaking Benjamin for my theme music. And I don't really remember the match. I remember I had some board shorts on that I had sewing some white fabric on down the side that said Little and then Joker on that side, and I had some knee pads that had L and J inscribed into them, and I wore some basketball shoes and I had a basketball singlet on, and Harry Peters had some white pants on and a white singlet, and I think I beat him by roll-up, and yeah, it's crazy thinking about that now actually since you've asked. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Did you initially come up with a gimmick to use then, or has it always been Paul Sayers? Or?
Yeah, so when I first debuted, I was a Little Joker, and I had been e-fitting online, sim-fitting, like writing out your matches and stuff for years, like probably since I was like 11 or something till I was 15 maybe. And the champ in that company that I used to e-fit for was called, what was his name? He was the Joker. The Joker Mike Kirkland was his name, and I came in as like his protege, so they just dubbed me Little Joker in the sim-fit. Nice. And then so I was like, oh, that's what I use, so I'm just going to use it in real wrestling. Yeah, did that, and had a couple of name and gimmick transformations over the years. I was the natural Paul Sayers for a bit. God knows what was happening there. And, I was the 80s mixtape for a little while, which I thoroughly enjoyed that. I just found it quite hard because like wrestling the 80s style when against people who aren't trying to wrestle in 80s style was real hard. Like everyone was trying to do cool moves and stuff, and I was like, I just punch in the heart for my finish. So like didn't really. At that point in my career, I struggled to work a gimmick or a character into a match then. And then obviously come down now to that young warrior, Paul Sayers, and kind of found my niche as this person I am now, which is cool.
Nice. Have you had a favourite match so far in your career that you can think of?
Me personally, wrestling, I've had a couple. I thoroughly enjoy my first favourite match that I had. So I don't know, like I think when your first few matches, every match is kind of your favourite and you're kind of getting better. And then I went through a massive stage of just not really enjoying any of my matches I had. I remember wrestling Joseph Kincaid down in SCW. And it was kind of one of the first times where I had just been given the freedom to do whatever. So I thoroughly enjoyed that, and then wrestling Chad Howard in the tables match, which was my retirement match, was another favourite of mine. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then it wasn't for a little while until I had another favourite match, and wrestling Kurt Chaos at Armageddon for the IPW title was definitely up there with one of my favourites. But definitely wrestling Goto at the Sakura show is my favourite match. Like, I didn't really put a foot wrong, which is cool for me, and like I felt like a wrestler and it looked like a wrestler, and like nothing went wrong in that match and stuff like that. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that match, and a lot of the matches I've had with Charlie Roberts as well I enjoy. Yeah, but my match with Goto definitely stands out with me as kind of my favourite.
So far.
Yeah, I think for me a lot of things go into my favourite matches. Like I thoroughly enjoyed my match with Kenneth here at Hughes Academy, but like the crowd wasn't really biting to what we were doing and stuff like that. So that like for me, I'm like, dumb, like cool stuff's happening, guys. Like make noise for it. So like kind of like a little bit. But then with Goto, the crowd was there. Like all my friends were in the crowd and they were like eating it up, and the stage and the lights, so like all of that comes into it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned wrestling Goto at New Japan on the mat.
Yeah.
You'd initially answered the call for RJ Brewer's response, and I asked you this a couple of months back at Invercargill as well.
Yeah.
Like, did you expect anything to come out of that at all?
Nah, so like watching the live stream and they were announcing it, and they're like, "Hey, we've got something for all these guys," and I'm like, "No, not some like dodgy battle royal before the show. Like, just don't even bother. Like, cool idea, guys, but like, nah, like." Yeah, and then, they announced Jay, and I was like, that's fair enough, like Jay, New Japan contract, wrestling for Ring of Honor, trained with Devitt, or Balor, and, why wouldn't you? Like, great pick, and then to find out I was wrestling Goto, that was insane, and, I couldn't ask for anything better out of that whole situation, Tiger Hattori is the ref, and, meeting all the guys and getting connections and stuff like that. And like Peter Joseph said, the guy from Sakura, wrestling RJ wouldn't have done much for me on a global scale, but wrestling someone, Goto, who was was ranked in the top 50 wrestlers in the PWI Illustrated, that's insane. That's choice, Yeah, so I was expecting RJ or nothing.
Yeah.
Didn't get RJ, so I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, guys. So many Facebook likes, so much reach, so much positivity, so many people seeing my name. Awesome. I would have been happy to walk away with that, Would have been stoked to just walk away with that, but then,
Or at least the acknowledgement of it,
Yeah.
You put in so much effort, so we're going to give you X as a kind of a consolation prize in a way, but,
yes.
It's good you got the match.
But then to get that, that's heaps better. That was cool. No disrespect to Jay or RJ, both great guys, both great workers, but, the rest of Goto.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Now, you lost the match, and I right saying that? Now, afterwards, did he pick you up, or did you sort of get to your feet and he raised your arm?
Yeah, so he picked me up off the ground and shook my hand and raised my hand, and for a crowd perspective and on an international scale and stuff, that's so cool, But the thing that really stuck out to me was backstage afterwards when Tiger Hattori, I don't think a lot of casual fans really know the importance of Tiger Hattori, because I keep going on about him and people don't know, but if it wasn't for him, Hulk Hogan wouldn't be a wrestler. He broke Hogan into the biz, and he's broken a lot of the international guys into Japan. So for him to come up to me and be like, "Hey Paul, your match was awesome. Well done, great stuff. Your timing's perfect. Blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "What the heck? Contact me anytime. That sort of stuff." That stood out to me, and for Goto to be in this middle of a ring in my country, to shake my hand, raise my hand, was awesome.
Sorry, I was just thinking of another question.
Are you right?
Sorry, cut this out around, but just banter. You've got a Mexico trip planned coming up. What's going through your minds in regards to that? Because you had a Kickstarter. Was it Kickstarter or
Give it a little? Yeah.
Give it a little. There we go.
Yeah. So I'm very unprepared. 100% honest. It was kind of one of those things where you just had to strike when the iron was hot, coming off the back of New Japan, and my name is at the highest point it's been, and people are talking about me internationally, and that sort of stuff was just choice. But so I kind of just struck when the iron was hot, got some money together, booked my tickets. Ant's coming for the ride, so we can tag team, which is cool because trios wrestling and tag team wrestling is quite in demand in Mexico, which is cool. So we'll be able to meet that niche quite easily, and then if we go to places and we can't wrestle tag or whatever, we can wrestle each other easy enough, and stuff like that. I'm very nervous. The day this is filmed, I'm flying out in 3 days. And I don't learn much Spanish. I don't have much money. I struggle with the lucha libre style of wrestling. But I think all those things are things that I want to kind of, you look at Chris Jericho's career, you look at Daniel Bryan's career, you look at all those types of guys, and they've got stories for days about things they've done. So I'm hoping that, coming back, if I come back from Mexico, that I would come back with a book full of stories, I went over with not much money, and I worked and I wrestled and I got some cash, and cool. Went over not knowing much Spanish. I can speak some Spanish now, I can hold a conversation, cool, meet some awesome people. Or go over there struggling with the lucha libre style, but going to trainings at CMLL and AAA and places like that, and I'm learning the style, and be able to come back to New Zealand if I come back and teach some people the style and stuff like that, which is awesome. And to be able to have some shows already lined up before we fly over is cool as well. The promoter, Alejandro at Lucha Garage is awesome, speaks English, and he's helping us heaps, which is cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think once we're there, I'll be a lot more calmer and kind of cool, we're here, it's all good, but the process over the next 3 days on the flight there, yeah, I'm freaking out. Yeah.
Do you have any dream matches against guys that you wish could wrestle, whether it be here or abroad?
Yeah.
Especially with heading over to Mexico, I don't know how familiar you are with guys over there.
So there's definitely, I think I've always kind of focused my attention to New Zealand on things, people I'd like to wrestle and things I'd like to do. Like I'd love to wrestle Dow. I'd love to wrestle Graham again. I'd love to wrestle Joseph Kincaid again. I'd love to wrestle Dave Deluxio, Dave O'Connor. I haven't wrestled Brock Duncan before, you know, one of my best friends, so it'd be cool to wrestle him. So those sorts of things are cool for New Zealand, like things I'd like to come back and try and do. Abroad, you know, Sami Zayn always stands out to me, and I try and mimic him as much as I can, because to me he's like the best, and so I'd love to wrestle him, and I'd love to wrestle Cena. Being in Mexico, I'd honestly just like to wrestle people that understand Mexican wrestling. You know, there's guys in AAA like Drago, and you got Angelico, and you got Jack Evans and stuff like that. Guys like that would be real cool to wrestle, and to wrestle Johnny Ivo over in Mexico would be cool, you know, like kind of broke in together a little bit, and he had his first match against me, and so to have a match in Mexico would be super cool. Yeah. And I honestly, as dumb as it sounds, I would love to wrestle New Jack. Yeah, I would love to wrestle New Jack so bad. That is my number one dream match, I reckon, is to wrestle New Jack. Somehow, some way.
Is there anything on your wrestling bucket list, i.e. like titles? Like whether it be here or once again abroad?
Yeah.
If you made it?
Yeah, I don't know, I struggle with that stuff. Like, I think a lot of people, especially in New Zealand, put a lot of pride and stuff into titles, and which, you know, they're not wrong in saying so or doing so or whatever. Like, that's cool if that's your goal to, you know, win a title in a New Zealand promotion or whatever. But I feel like too often people put too much of their thought process into winning that and stuff like that. Where, like, I would just like to wrestle people and wrestle in front of people. So, like, yeah, if I come back from Mexico, one thing I want to focus on is, you know, helping places get more people through the door somehow, whatever way that is. And yeah, because I think the smaller crowds in New Zealand kind of hurt the wrestlers' egos a bit, and like when wrestlers are getting hurt egos, they're not wrestling as well. As dumb as it sounds, and like I'm not super bothered like by this hurt ego thing. Like, I definitely, if there's a smaller crowd, I wrestle heaps safer and heaps lesser than what I would if there's a big crowd, because it gives you that energy. But yeah, so yeah, no titles or anything really. Obviously, like, if the boyhood dream of holding like the world heavyweight title with the WWE title is not going to be cool, but yeah. Some kid at school asked me the other day, actually, if I went to WWE, what title I'd like to wrestle for. And I think like the history behind the Intercontinental title would be cool to kind of have your mark on. So that's definitely that. If there was one title, if you'd ask me what one title would you like to go after, that would be the Intercontinental title, 100%.
If you got offered the opportunity of, like, say, 5 contracts by like the top wrestling companies in the world, like New Japan, ROH, WE, etc. If you had to choose one, who would you likely sign for?
100% WWE. Like that's my goal. You know, a lot of guys would like to go around places and wrestle places and then get there and stuff. I just want to go there. Mold me in the performance center. You know, make me who you want me to be. That's what I want to do. And 100%, the E would be the way to go. If New Japan come knocking with the Young Lions thing before the E come knocking, well, I'm not going to say no because I want to go to the E. I'll say, you know. So kind of for me, first in. But if there's 5 on the table, 100% picking the E. 100%.
I had a question. There's one just there. 20 minutes, I reckon that should probably be enough.
You sure?
Yeah.
Keep going, I've got content for days.
Alright.
Keep going, just in case Graham wants to chop and change.
I can't remember what the question was.
If you don't have any other questions, then we can finish, but...
No, I think I've got nothing. No, we might as well finish.